Well, hey everybody, welcome to this mini video podcast as we eat our lunch. We're actually in Southern California today, and we wanted to talk about, a conversation that we just had with an industry professional who also makes, hardware for, Hollywood, bigger cameras, big Reds, big Alexas, and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And so we had a conversation with him, and it was just a really good conversation, and where we kind of realize our place in the world, in the sense of, where do we stand? And I know that sometimes you'll see some of our sets and you'll be like, man, this is a lot of junk that you guys are bringing on set. Talking with this guy, it was like, man, we're actually really far down. And the way he was like, as he was looking at our stuff, he's like, yeah, you guys, you guys are, down there in
Oh yeah, I'm sure this is great for making social content and stuff, and I'm like super cool. He's not talking down to us in any way, but just he's coming from
he understands
Hollywood.
where he's at and where we're at,
and he understands our place in the market. Just like we also know our place in the market, but it's easy to forget being in a small market where we are, where we're one of the big fish in the small pond, and sometimes you just kind of forget that you're a big fish in a small pond, but as soon as you go to the big pond, you're a small fish again. And so it was good just to have that perspective, talking to him and remembering, yeah, that's right, we are not big fish. Even though we've got a grip truck, and we've got two of us, and we've got cameras, and we've got some lights, that's not big stuff.
And the idea is what we're working up from. As I shared in my video, a few of them back, I talk about when we went from being full-time wedding videographers to what we're doing now, and it's a progression. We were doing corporate videos with one key light, one camera, to two cameras and multiple lights, and to where we are now.
Right.
But as we're still growing, we're trying to get to some of the productions that he's at and that he works on. But it was really great to kind of see that there's still a lot of room to grow, because when we were talking about our budgets, where sometimes we're working with $10,000 to $20,000 to $30,000 budgets, he's like, oh yeah, on the low end. And we're like, oh yeah, the low end. And honestly, it's like, where we came from, 10, 20, and 30 is like, man, that's high end. In actuality, it's very, very low end. Some of the equipment that he makes, and he's been on our, some of the larger commercials that you're going to see on broadcast television. So what that really did for us as we were talking is like, man, it just feels like there's so much to grow.
Yeah, there's so many places we can go, and we have, like I said, grown a lot. When it's like it used to be just me with a GH4,
Panasonic Lumix,
Panasonic GH4, and a gimbal, and sometimes an LED panel, a battery-powered LED panel.
Young Nuo.
And then a wireless mic, and that was like, this is nice.
Yep.
And that was my big package. So I bring a softbox for my LED panel.
I bought an umbrella.
Right. Well, I started with the umbrellas, and then I was like, this looks goofy, and I bought a softbox for it. It's exact same result, but whatever. So, we've made moves in our business, and I know, a lot of guys watching this are maybe in that spot we were in, where it's like kind of what we call the wedding videographer level. You may not be filming weddings, but it's the idea of it's a camera with a very small gear package, because it's more run and gun, and we still do some of that work too. But we've been trying hard to level up, because as we've looked at the industry, we've also looking at AI. That came up in our conversation today, with a guy, and it's like AI is going to replace certain things.
So
it's not going to replace everything, but the kind of content, and not even just AI, but phones, right? Because the small businesses who are like, I'll pay a guy with a camera and a gimbal to come out, are eventually like, well, I could do this on my phone.
Yep.
But they can't, take our whole grip truck full of stuff and do that on their phone. Yeah. So it's like we're leveling up, because it's like, in a sense, the tide is rising of what clients can do by themselves, whether it's with AI or with their phones.
So let's get into the conversation, you and me.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel after coming away with that? Just the conversation, do you feel like there's more room to grow?
I think there's a lot of room for us to grow. And it might mean that we have to start working out of our market more, because our market is you know, is small. I mean, you know, Bakersfield's got 1 million people. It's not like it's tiny. I mean, there's guys, you know, working in way smaller markets doing better work. You know, or the level we want to be doing.
Yeah.
Like I think of, what was it, Filmanatics.
Oh yeah.
And they make all these posts, oh, we're in a small town, you know, but it's like, and they're over there doing killer work.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not that you can't find, you know, those clients.
You know, and it's funny you bring them up. We're eating while we're talking, so
Yeah.
just excuse us.
Making use of the time.
As you bring them up, one of the things that they've talked about on their page, they have an Instagram page. If you haven't found them, check them out, Filmanatics. But they talk about, you know, like outreach to clients instead of, a lot of the stuff that we get is very organic. They call us, we handle it.
Right.
And thank God for that. But also, you know, pitching. That's one of the things that we just really haven't done.
Yeah.
Outreaching, pitching, saying, here's an idea for a video. This is the budget. Do you want to move forward?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we don't do that we could do.
Yeah. And I saw, that's the,
Are these corn?
yeah, they're corn.
Okay. All right. I looked at mine and I was like, this looks like flour. Wait a minute. Stop, Josh.
Yeah. I have celiac, so I cannot have flour. But these are corn tortillas. We're safe.
Cool.
I made sure. But Filmanatics had put out something, I don't know, a year or two ago that we had seen on Instagram where they were like, hey, we pitched this, I think it was like a university.
Yes.
And they were like, hey, we made this pitch, and then we got the gig, and it was like 40 grand or something. We were just like, this is cool, we should do this, and we still have not done it.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of passion projects that we say we were going to do. Now,
Yeah.
we just kept getting calls and we kept getting busy. I think, you know, this has been a season now where we're getting into the actual lull. It's funny how our business ebbs and flows. I've been hearing from some of you guys. I mean, I know David Winters, the cranky cameraman, put out a couple of episodes ago that it was one of the slowest first quarters that he's ever had in his entire career. I'm like, wow, okay, so it's not just us.
Yeah.
That's good to hear. I would really like to know if any of you guys are actually kind of feeling this drought right now.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do is to fill in that gap. Today is one of those days. You know, we're in Southern California. We obviously had some business to do where we got to talk to the guy, but we're about to just go and do a shoot, you know, somewhere close to the beach or something like that, and just kind of fill our time with filming stuff and just getting some work done in that way. But I'd like to know if you guys are dealing with that. But anyway, outreach, man, just like
Yeah.
and not necessarily cold calls, but like it's good to know somebody, right?
Pitching.
Yeah.
It's, you know, over the weekend, I hadn't even talked to you about this, but over the weekend, Emily and I had one of our little business meetings, which we haven't been able to do so much because she's been sick. But we finally had one. Like, hey, this is fun. Let's have like a 2-hour business meeting. And we're just kind of brainstorming, talking ideas.
You know, Josh is all about this. Him and his wife, this is fun.
Yes.
Business people.
Yeah. No. My wife and I will have business meetings for fun. Anyways, so I'm all excited. We got to have one. Anyways, so we had
So
the
what
meeting,
came out of this fun?
and of course, you know, because we're just strategizing, like, okay, what can we do? Because this is the slowest quarter we've had in a long time, and you know, just trying to understand, you know, what can we do? Because at this point, we've been really working hard to try to hold out for, you know, the 10K projects and stuff, and we've been holding out for almost a quarter.
Yeah.
And we've had, you know, like one of these projects come in this quarter, and so it's been very slow, and we're kind of just looking at the cash flow, going, okay, at some point we have to just start taking on smaller projects, and so we're trying to look through, like, what can we do to make that feasible, and it's like, I hate that it's like the conversation always turns to, well, what's the cheapest thing we can do? Like, how can we race to the bottom of the barrel? I'm just like, I hate that.
Right.
And so, you know, we don't want to do that. So one of the things we did is we went, okay, because Emily will always ask me, I'm always listening to podcasts. She's like, well, what have you learned in your podcasts? And I'm always like, well, I don't remember because I listen to so much.
Yeah.
And then so we had the good idea, have ChatGPT jog my memory. And so I went to Chat and was like, hey, what are some strategies, you know, when we're slow to help us out? And then it spits all this stuff out, and then I see the list it gives. I'm like, that's right, I remember. So-and-so talked about that, and da-da-da. Not that I'm listening to Chat for advice, but I'm using it to jog my memory. And one of the things it talked about was pitching. It was like, oh, that was one of the ideas. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's right. And I had this whole, you know, Filmanatics thing. So that came up. The fruit of the conversation ultimately was we ended up creating some smaller packages
Nice.
that are like, okay,
To
how
pitch.
can we pitch? Because we went, okay, we need to find some partners like agencies and marketing people, things like that, so that we can, get some people to help market us, or even white labeling under an agency or what. Like, we don't care. Like, we'll do the work.
Yeah.
And so we kind of realized this is the audience. Excuse me, what are they going to want? So we kind of thought about what they wanted. We created some packages that are like, okay, what if they do want one guy with a camera for an hour to create some content? Not what we're trying to do, not what we want to do, but if this is what we need to do, especially white label under somebody else,
Yeah.
hey, we'll do that, to make money and fill in that gap as the helicopter goes over us.
So if you're watching this and you're wondering, yes, they're very good.
Delicious. So we came up with some smaller packages, kind of in the like 1 to 5,000 range, because typically everything we do is 5K plus.
Yeah.
And so I came up with some like 1 to 5K options. They're not going to hurt us. We can still make money, and so some of them are like just a guy with a gimbal because that's just what some people want.
Yep.
We try not to do it, but hey, if we're slow, we don't have to advertise it, but we can at least say, yeah, we have something for that. Mm-hmm. And then some like small versions of like what we did the other day for Priya.
Oh yeah.
Stuff like that, where it's like, okay, we can come out and we can give you a nice product, just a very small amount.
So what that was vlog is going to come out on that one here soon. But what that was, sorry, I'm talking with my mouth full. I want to get some clarity. It was just a local businesswoman. She came and spoke in front of the camera. Now, we did a big setup just to make it look good because it's going to have our name on it. But
Yeah.
this can be done a whole lot easier with, a softbox, whatever.
Yeah.
But it was a really nice location, too. So it's like we had to go all out. And we didn't have anything else planned either.
Right. We had done a trade show, and so we gave that away as a booth prize.
Yeah.
Like, hey, put your name in the hat, and we'll pick someone and give them a $1,200, 5 talking head videos, nicely produced.
That's what it was.
Because for us, it's like on the back end, we're like, okay, how can we make something that looks good, but it's very little editing for us? Because normally it looks good and there's a lot of editing. But if we're going to give it away, it has
So
to
you
be.
put a limit on the time, and you put a limit on how many talking head pieces she could have.
So we said it's going to be a 2-hour shoot, and you get 5 talking head pieces, which basically means we get 45 minutes to an hour to set up, so we can make it nice. They get 30 minutes on camera. We get 30 minutes to break it down and get out, which is reasonable for us to make a nice video. And then the editing is going to take us an hour or two just to go through.
And it was teleprompted too, which
Yeah.
so there could be an argument as well, that's extra. Well, maybe, but if you let them go off the top of your head, you'll spend more time in post. So it's like, I'd rather bring out the teleprompter and spend time doing that on set than having to deal with that in editing, because that just takes so much longer.
Oh, yeah.
Especially you have to splice and what all that.
Yeah.
Punch in.
To do 5 or 10 takes with a teleprompter, it might take a little longer on set. But ultimately, if you're trying to get them to get 5 pieces off the top of their head, that's going to take even longer on set.
Way longer.
Unless they're good on camera, which most people aren't.
Yeah, you already know that's a crapshoot. Yeah. Maybe they
Oh,
are.
no, I'm
Maybe they
really
are.
good.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a really great idea. Just kind of pitching and going out there. I don't know if you guys are following him. He's another creator out there. His name is Michael. I hope I'm not butchering your last name. Michael Mastasio, I think it is. If you spell it the way I just said it, you'll be able to find him. But he is a creator who, in his 30s, I think he said it was 35, he quit his job, he got his FX3, and he's out there to make content. And that's one of the things that he does. He goes into different businesses. Now he's starting from the bottom up, as far as like, he's creating a name for himself. Some of us already have a name out there, but so one of the things he's doing, he's going from business to business. And he's like, hey, I'd love to, for him, it's like, I'll demo it for free. And then after that, we can get on a month-to-month subscription basis for content.
That's a great idea for monthly content retainers.
Retainers.
They're like, hey, let me come out and give you, because a monthly content retainer like that is like probably under $1,000. And so it's like, hey, let me come in and give you a sample. It's a Costco free sample. And we give you a free sample.
That's a good one.
And if you like it, then you can buy the box. And the box is the monthly retainer.
Yeah.
Because you're not talking about, let me give you a 3-minute promo for free. Because it's like, well, what are they going to come back and buy?
Right. Yeah, nothing. Hope you come back around here again.
Right. So you give away something that you can put on a monthly retainer.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I've always said too, is like, it's better to give it away for free than to discount your quality, product, because that's just going to cheapen the product. And in their eyes, they're never going to see it as it being worth what it actually is. So don't discount the product. Give it away for free. Just because the next time you come to me for it, it'll be full price. If it's a friend or something like that, that's obviously different, but it's not a discounted product. So, yeah. But
just to jump on the pricing thing, I already forgot who it was. I was browsing Instagram and I just saw a guy talking about pricing, another production guy. I wish I could remember who it was, but he was saying, like, I have different rates for different things. He's like, I used to just have one. You've probably seen this video come in your Instagram feed. He's like, I just used to have one day rate, and now I realize like I need to have different day rates, because it's like I've got my rate that I typically would give to production, but if I've got buddies, I have a buddy rate, and then I have like a small business rate, which is different than my full rate. Like you realize like, okay, you need to have levels to your rate. Like you might be doing the same thing for all those different rates.
there's levels to this game.
But
I feel like I'm too dark.
rather than just different qualities.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, look at that.
So now that we're properly exposed,
It's better than being unexposed.
yeah, unexposed or exposed. What was I gonna say? Anyway, so outreach. That's a really great takeaway.
But outreach is something that chat had thrown that up, and I was like, oh, we should probably think about that. Because especially for the bigger clients, like that's not a thing for the clients who are looking for a $1,500 social package. Like you're not pitching those clients. You're pitching the 10, 20K plus clients.
Yep.
And so that's the work we want to do. So maybe, yeah. And so what we can do is we can do some of this like $3,000, $1,500 projects to make make money,
ends meet, yeah.
Make ends meet while we're pitching for the bigger projects.
And that's one of the reasons why it was so important to do some of the commercials that we've talked about on our channels. We've done some free work. We've done some passion projects. We still have some in waiting. I forgot that total figure of speech. Mm-hmm. We still have some in the pipe, I guess, that we want to do. Today being kind of that. But in the future we also want to do some more passion projects. But when they're in the portfolio, now we can actually like, okay, we could shop this idea to a company and they could be like, if they like it, cool. Well, what have you done? We've done this, and we can show them. We have some, obviously we have a portfolio,
right.
But we want to make, obviously, what I'm thinking about when I'm thinking pitching, I'm thinking pitching commercials. Because if we're pitching a brand film,
you're pitching an advertising piece.
Yeah, because if we're pitching a brand film, we have that already in the
right.
folder, so they could take a look at anything we've done, and that should be good enough. But for commercials, we've done like a couple, and I would like to have like maybe 2 more, especially ag related.
Well, right, because we need a greater range, and then we need to also have commercials targeting the people we want to target.
Yeah, and we're in the Central Valley of California, so I don't know.
We feed the world.
We feed the world. We have a brand called Wonderful. Used to be Paramount, and they are literally in our backyard, as far as the neighborhoods and that we live in. Wonderful fruits, halos, all that. It's a huge brand. And all of their fields and their orchards and all of that is literally in our Central Valley.
I mean, there's probably a dozen global ag companies here.
Yeah. So,
and lots of
not to mention oil companies as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we have a lot of these companies in and around Bakersfield that have deep pockets that need higher quality video as part of their wheelhouse.
Right.
But again, especially with Wonderful, them being a Fortune 500 company, they own many companies, not just the one. One of their companies actually does go through agencies and gets commercials produced, but Wonderful itself doesn't.
Well,
So
Wonderful has their own in-house advertising agency. That's the Wonderful marketing agency.
Yeah.
That does all their stuff.
which they can contact us. This is where we
Right.
want to get in at. We actually had one of our buddies who were they contacted him to do photos in their orchards, and I'm like, well, then we can get on that list for video, and that's what we want. We would love to get in with some of these bigger. So the point that we're saying is, for the passion projects, we could actually do something like that. We've had this farmer ad in our head for the last 2.5 years. We'd love to get that done, and then shop it around, see what we could get. But anyway, I mean, to kind of top it all off, because we're ending lunch here, we're getting to the end of lunch. Just kind of realizing our place in the world, knowing that there's still room to grow.
Yeah. That was the big takeaway, I think, from that conversation, is like remembering the humility of like, that's right, we're the small fish,
Yeah.
not the big fish, which is like, we know, but we have to be reminded.
Yeah.
Because in our market, it can feel like, we're big.
And it's not necessarily we're the biggest dudes in the room. We
Not
have
biggest,
Yeah,
no.
we have a monthly meetup with other guys, and they're just as big. But it's like most everybody else is what we were, a guy with a gimbal, or a guy with a softbox, and we're doing corporate videos, which is perfectly fine, and you can make a living off of that. But as we're moving up the ladder and we're seeing it, seeing ourselves grow, it's good to be, to see that other aspect
Right.
of it. One of the points he did make, and we didn't talk about, so we'll talk about it right now,
Let's do it.
is the fact that he was like, yeah, well, you guys are kind of taking over the world, in the sense of more clients for video production are coming back to
A small production company instead of a large
huge,
production.
a huge commercial, whatever. And the budgets are because he was even talking about that used to be run of the mill. It was like everybody was getting $1 million commercials. Now you're only really paying that for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And it's like, because
Well,
they can come to us
And he made a great business point on that, which is they're diversifying, they're spreading out the risk.
that was a really great point.
Because it's like,
Investing.
yeah, just like, because businesses are no longer saying, well, let's put all of our eggs in this $1 million commercial basket. Let's make a whole bunch of content and see what works. And
Neither
I'm
would
like,
we. For
yeah.
our retirements, we're not gonna. Let's all put it in IBM.
Yeah.
We're gonna diversify and put it in a bunch of different places so that it'll grow slowly over time. And so it's like influencers.
And it made a ton of sense. Like, I hadn't actually thought about it from that perspective.
Well, we were talking about at our meeting, our videographers meeting, not videographers, but our video pros meeting, video pals.
Video pals.
And we were actually talking about, we kind of ended talking on that note, talking about how a lot of advertising agencies are going straight to influencers now. Why bother with the old media when my money can stretch and get in front of people? And we were talking, one of our buddies works for a huge YouTuber, a very large YouTuber.
Yeah.
And our buddy is like a professional DP. He's worked in Los Angeles, worked on some Lionsgate films. So not a small namer at all. He's got experience under his belt, and he's working for a YouTuber because that's where it's going. That's where the money's at. And the fact that there was like, they didn't even call him up to like do this ad for this big company. He was like, pulled out my phone and did the ad read, and that was it. And we were just kind of blown away, but talking about, that's where your money's going to go. It's going to get better spent as a company going through influencers rather than putting it on an ad where somebody could just skip it after 5 seconds, or making you sit through it on YouTube and you really don't want to watch it. So that was, a real eye opener in the sense of it's not going in the same way. So, and we were just talking about, he brought that point up.
Yeah.
So diversifying, that's a thing.
And just to cycle back to a previous thing, it's like more agencies.
Are you gonna eat that? Because I'm gonna eat a taco if you're not.
You go for it. More.
You're gonna eat that?
As long as I don't have to share it with you.
I'm just gonna have this one, so that's all you.
More agencies are starting to get in-house video teams.
Yeah.
Because why not? Because the tools of production are getting cheaper, the technology is getting cheaper, and they can just get an in-house production and do that.
And for us, if you're a freelancer, there's security there.
Right. So it's interesting talking, today, our conversation, where it's like we're thinking about how we're over here trying to go up the ladder, and he's like, yeah, everything is coming down.
Yeah.
That's basically what he said.
He's like, you're good where you're at, you know?
Yeah. Like, yeah, the work is coming to you guys. He's like, guys like me are not getting this work. The work is going to guys like you. And he was, kind of talking to us about, it's kind of like, talking to us a little bit about our business and our, kind of essentially doing some market research for his product, because he makes a very high-end product. And he's just kind of like, I'm interested, like, would you guys, like, what would you guys buy a version of my product in your,
what would you be willing to pay?
Yeah. He's like, what would you guys be willing to pay for a version of my product catered to you? It's like, oh yeah, it's like, we've seen your product, it's amazing, but it's just not for us.
No.
So it was interesting.
Hopefully we'll have more talks with him. We're probably gonna.
Yeah.
So we're not trying to keep it a secret or anything, but we'll probably talk about it more around NAB. We'll have him on the channel, both of our channels. Yeah. But it's obviously he's smart because he's diversifying, right?
Oh,
he has a business outside of shooting videos or being a DP or. Yeah,
because it's like he's a great DP and he's got a business making equipment. Like he's diversified his business already, and he's continuing to grow and expand that, which is great. And he recognizes this smaller segment. Guys like us who are this very small market, but there's a lot of us. He recognizes, okay, I need to figure out how to address that market, with his product. So anyway, it was a good conversation. It was a good conversation, and it kind of got us thinking, help us remember our place in the market, because it's easy to forget when you're in a small pond that there are bigger ponds.
Which was what prompted this whole podcast.
Yeah.
Obviously, I brought my Godox mics with me for the iPhone, so I was like, hey, why don't we just talk about it and put it as a podcast, and hopefully this can help somebody else. My takeaway was like, look, there's still a lot of room to grow, so we're not there yet, and we knew that.
Oh yeah.
But how high the ceiling was, that's like, oh yeah, reality check, duh. But at the very same time, that also gave me encouragement too. Sorry, talking with food in my mouth. That also gave me encouragement too, because it was like, a lot of the business is going to be going to you guys anyway. It's kind of going to you guys. I'm like, okay, it's a little bit of encouragement there, so we can,
because we, in the same way, and I think you too, see that same downward motion, where we see the kind of work we're trying to do going to, what we call the videographers, which is just the guys with a camera. They're not bringing a big gear package. There's nothing wrong with that. But we just kind of call that the videographer. And it's like the work that we're trying to get is shifting to the videographer. And we're like, hey, but he's like, no, our work is shifting to you. And so it's like, okay, no, there is a lot, of work coming that way.
Things are just getting juggled right now.
Yeah.
But it's still a thing. It still absolutely is a thing. And we just got to, kind of pivot with it. But it's good to know. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm done with my lunch, so I don't know about you, Josh. I'm just kidding.
I still got to keep going. I'm trying not to talk with food.
Right now. I know. So, but that's it. If you're not going to NAB, man, maybe not this year, but maybe next year, how do you get the passes?
Okay. So, NAB is fantastic if you've never been. Yes, it's about let's go look at gear, but it's also about networking, building relationships.
Yeah.
And we went last year with the intention of networking, building relationships, and we felt like we kind of weren't very good at it, but at the same time, we did forge a couple meaningful relationships.
Yeah.
And one thing I've learned in almost, 13 years of being in business, quantity of relationships is not as important as quality. Find people who you can build a deeper relationship with, and those are the relationships that will actually go farther for you in your business.
Yeah.
Rather than just, hey, we talked to 100 people for 2 seconds each. It's like, no, go talk to 10 people for 10 minutes each. That's going to give you way more for your business. So we did that. We made a great relationship with Sealands.
Yeah.
And we,
the cart was on the channel for all this last year.
Yeah. I mean, like that basically that cart led to us starting our YouTube channels.
Yeah.
Like NAB led to it ultimately, because we were
really.
at NAB. We just realized how many people are running YouTube channels, and like, oh, I see, like I get it. It just clicked for us, and so we both started our channels.
Yeah, the dots connected there.
Yeah,
So how,
I'm yammering. Take over.
well, no, how did you get the tickets?
Okay, yes, thank you. So NAB is free to go to, as long as you register ahead of time. If you're like a couple months in advance, you get them for free. You wait, and the tickets get cheap, but they're still available. If you're like super last minute, it might be $100 to get in or whatever. But the other thing to know is companies are throwing free tickets everywhere. Because companies pay like, I don't know, 10 grand a booth or whatever. They pay a ton of money.
That's crazy.
To come to these shows. And so they get free tickets to give out to people to try to get people to the show. Because the whole point is to get people to the show. So don't pay a bunch of money for tickets to NAB. You can find, somebody will give you tickets. Like just look at companies. Someone will give you tickets. So you can get into the show basically free. Vegas is a pretty cheap place to stay, relatively. So you find an Airbnb or whatever, like we're doing it. We're in a house this year.
Yeah.
Last year we did a hotel for
We stayed on the Strip.
Yeah, and it was
All
pricey.
right.
But
It
I
was
mean,
all right.
the whole trip was less than $1,000
Yeah. And
for two of us.
And if you remember in any of my vlogs, if you've seen them, you won a tripod valued at like $300. I won the OC monitor, which was valued at $800.
Yeah.
So just that in itself paid for the trip.
Yeah, we won prizes, and then on top of that, we went around, negotiated, got deals
On some gear.
and saved, I forget how much.
Lots of money.
Like probably $1,000
Yeah,
on negotiating
lots of
deals. So
money.
that's another thing is, you can also come and you can work directly with people. You can negotiate. You take floor models, because if you don't take it, they got to pack it home.
Yeah.
So you can negotiate deals and save money on gear, which
Yeah.
we're hoping to do.
Yep.
So we got to get our cash flow boosted so we can buy some gear at NAB. But it's fantastic, and it's great to network. Even if you don't like go to all the parties and the dinners and stuff, like we didn't. We just went to the trade show each day, and it was fantastic for us. And it's also good just like traveling in general. Like anyone who's never traveled and you just kind of live in your own little town and you have a small mind. Sorry, I don't know how to say that, but it's like you just are in your bubble. But when you travel, like I've gone all over the country, I've gone to other countries, and it's like when you travel, it opens up your mind, and you're able to just see like, oh, the world is so much bigger than just my little piece of it, whatever piece that is. And so same thing, go to NAB, and it's like you get to see all levels of production. You're like, oh man, these guys are making movies. Like that's legit.
And you will probably meet your favorite YouTuber out there as well.
Oh yeah, they're all going to be there.
Certain.
That was the funny part. Where it's like, oh there's.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway.
And if we're your favorite YouTuber, you can meet us too.
We're way low on that totem pole.
I'm like, if we're your favorite YouTuber, you got to find some new YouTubers.
Anyway, that's it. Hope that was helpful.
Yeah,
Bye.
thanks guys for watching.